He showed up that night just to earn another paycheck, an invisible man guarding other people's comfort. The parking lot was quiet until it wasn't. Screeching tires, a cry for help. In seconds, his instincts took over. He didn't see color or class, just someone in danger. But what began as one act of courage would uncover a cruel truth about how the world sees men like him. Because when the headlines came, they didn't call him a hero, they called him a suspect. How could saving a life turn into a fight for his own dignity?
Every night was the same routine. Marcus clocked in at the downtown office complex at sunset, a thermos of instant coffee in his hand and steel-toed shoes that squeaked on the polished floors. As a security guard, he knew every camera angle, every hum of the elevators, every shadow that stretched across those marble lobbies. He took quiet pride in keeping others safe, though most never noticed him. Outside work, life wasn't easy. His paycheck barely covered rent on the tiny apartment he shared with his mother, yet he stayed optimistic, telling her that hard work always pays off. Still, even optimism wears thin when people look through you, not at you. That Friday night, the air felt different, thick, electric. A storm was gathering over the city, and under its dark clouds, Marcus would soon find himself tested in a way that no training could prepare him for.
Marcus had patrolled that stretch 100 times before. Rows of silent cars, the hum of streetlights, the faint buzz of the city in the distance. But that night, something was off. A silver sedan was idling at the far end of the lot, headlights still on, though the building had closed hours ago. He scanned the badge hanging from his neck, took a cautious step forward, and approached. Inside was a young woman, tense, tapping her steering wheel, eyes darting to the rearview mirror. Before he could ask if she was okay, the doors of a black SUV swung open across the street. 3 men stepped out, expensive suits, cutting voices. They didn't see Marcus at first. They were focused on the girl, shouting her name, ordering her out of the car. When she refused, one grabbed her arm through the open window. Instinct overrode fear. Marcus rushed forward, his radio clattering to the ground. He shouted for them to back off, flashing his security badge like a shield. The moment they turned toward him, he saw it, the shift. Their surprise was instant, but what followed was worse. Smirks, then laughter. "Who are you supposed to be?" one sneered. Another muttered louder, "Look at this, playing hero again." They didn't see a guard. They saw a black man interrupting their business. He stood firm anyway, voice steady but trembling inside. "She's not going anywhere with you. Step back." The men hesitated just long enough for the woman to slip out of the car, stumbling toward him. Then one of them grabbed his shoulder, shoving him with force that sent him sprawling. His flashlight cracked against the pavement. A security camera blinked overhead. He thought it would protect him later. He didn't know it would twist everything. By the time police sirens pierced the air, the men had vanished into their SUV, leaving Marcus kneeling beside the terrified woman. She whispered a shaky thank you before collapsing against him. When officers arrived, their flashlights seared into his eyes like judgment. "Step away from her," one barked. He tried to explain, words tumbling out, but they saw only the scene, the uniformed black man bending over a crying white woman. Hands grabbed him before he could even point to the cameras. Cuffed beside his fallen thermos, Marcus watched the silver sedan drive out of sight, carried off by medics. Cold rain began to fall, washing dirt off the concrete, but not the label that would soon define him. Onlookers whispered, phones captured fragments. He didn't know yet that the woman he saved carried a last name worth billions, or that her story, once it hit the news, would tear apart his world before it ever rebuilt it. The storm had started, and Marcus was standing right in its center.
Rain poured over the precinct steps as Marcus sat, still in his soaked uniform, his wrists aching from the handcuffs they'd only just removed. Hours earlier, he was a man doing his job. Now he was a headline waiting to happen. The officer's questions blurred together. Why was she crying? What were you doing near her car? Every answer he gave seemed to dig the hole deeper. They hadn't even asked about the men in suits. When they finally let him step outside, flashing lights blinded him again, this time from the press. Someone had leaked the story. Security guard detained after attacking heiress. He caught the words on a headline that flashed across a phone screen, each letter slicing like a blade. The woman's face was there too, pale, tear-streaked, beside his mugshot. He hadn't even known her name until that moment. Then came the sound that cut through the noise, a firm voice shouting his name. Through the sea of reporters, the woman emerged, bruised but defiant, police escort at her side. She pointed toward Marcus. The crowd hushed. "He saved me," she said, voice trembling, yet sharp enough to pierce the night. Cameras swung toward her, flashes exploding. In that split second, the narrative cracked. Some officers looked away, others froze, caught between disbelief and shame. The same cameras that once painted Marcus as a threat now captured his silence, his exhaustion, his humanity. But even as truth flooded the scene, he saw how deep the damage ran. The suspicion in half the faces around him, the whispered doubt that still trailed his name. For a brief, fragile moment, justice flickered. But would it last? Or would the world move on, satisfied with one headline of redemption, while ignoring the system that nearly broke him?
Weeks passed before Marcus's name was cleared. The footage surfaced. The men in suits caught dragging the young woman, the flash of his badge, his desperate attempt to help. The truth was undeniable, yet the damage stuck to him like a shadow. His employer called it a misunderstanding, but the word felt hollow. Some neighbors still avoided eye contact. Others whispered apologies that came too late. The heiress, whose name now dominated every headline, reached out to him privately. She offered money, lawyers, a public apology. He accepted her words, but not her pity. What he wanted couldn't be written on a check. He wanted what every person deserves: to be seen without suspicion, to stand in his own skin without fear of what others might assume. Months later, Marcus returned to work at a community center instead of a corporate tower. Every time someone walked through those doors, he greeted them with the same calm steadiness he'd always carried. But now his eyes held something fiercer: resolve. He mentored young guards, reminding them that integrity means standing firm even when the world refuses to stand with you. The incident faded from the headlines, just another story in an endless scroll of injustice. But for Marcus, it wasn't over. It became fuel, proof that dignity can survive even when the system tries to strip it away. Some people still said he was lucky, as if surviving injustice were a form of fortune. Marcus just smiled quietly, because luck had nothing to do with it, only truth, courage, and the stubborn hope that one story, told loud enough, might echo beyond him. So, the question remains: how many more lives will it take before courage isn't punished and humanity doesn't come with a condition?